again, this is one where many couples start with us. It's the first question they want to talk about, is how to handle accounts. So, we left this for later in the conversation because, like we said, we think the other pieces are more important. But eventually, you do have to get down to the nitty-gritty and figuring out the logistics of how you're going to be handling the money. So basically, the idea behind the accounts is going to be to say, okay, sure, it could be completely separate and individual, or it could be everything is joint, but it could also be, this middle ground. And the decisions you make here, lots of different things can work. Definitely be flexible. I'll show you a few different ways that you can set it up. We do have a little quick note here just to say retirement accounts cannot be joint. They're always individual. Your IRA, your HSA, your 401ks, right? Like those are always going to be individually titled. So no matter how joint you want everything, you're always going to have to manage some number of individual accounts along with the joint ones. So knowing that, this isn't the most key decision, still, let's make sure that we're being kind of smart and practical about how we put this together. So on the spectrum of joining here, we've kind of put one entry here in the middle, having mine, yours, and ours pots of money. There's a lot of different ways that can be configured. So again, that's a good one for talking through with your advisor, how you want the accounts to be structured. And also there's a difference here between kind of how you have accounts titled versus how you manage them together, right? I mentioned my partner and I have separate accounts, but we mostly coordinate our finances together. All those accounts are linked in Monarch. We're kind of treating them as though it were all one pot of money that we're discussing, even though the underlying accounts are named separately. Like Jeremy said at the beginning, we all start here. Everybody starts off having fully individual accounts. Maybe back when you were first in the early days of dating, all you were trying to decide was like who was paying for dinner in a given situation. And then over time, you may find yourselves or not migrating further up here. So as your lives evolve, it's quite possible that you might be moving, and it's not just up, you might be moving back. That's totally fine. There's no value judgment here or moral high ground. Jeremy and I don't care how you title your accounts. Whatever works for you is fine. And so I don't want you to feel any kind of, again, sort of pressure to be like, oh, it's supposed to be this way. And if I ask for something different, that's wrong. Like, no, it can be any way the two of you want it to be. Make sure that you're never pressuring a partner, right? Especially to push things towards joint if they're not comfortable with that. And if you ever have a partner who's pressuring you that way, don't cave. That's a big red flag, right? To figure out why are they trying to put that kind of pressure on. One other thing I'll mention about this is, I've definitely noticed that there's differences in kind of a few kind of general patterns in which couples prefer which arrangement. So for example, I often see that, people who got coupled or married when they were young, very often, are more likely to have the joint approach because it's like nobody had any money when they started off anyway. They were kind of, building that all together as they built their adult lives. Whereas people who are older, possibly in second marriages or later life relationships, having had spent more time being perhaps individual, are more likely to keep at least some things separate. And again, maybe there was a bad relationship experience there that led to wanting to keep things separate. Maybe it was just, for a lot of people, it's like, well, maybe they were joint for many years and then they got to do things individually for a while and they really like that autonomy and they're reluctant to just completely give that up again. So sure. So maybe it works to keep some things more individual in that case. Definitely anytime that partners are bringing children from prior relationships. So these blended families, definitely things get complicated and you want to be careful there. And it's great to make sure that you're kind of consulting an attorney because this connects to your estate planning, which is complex for blended families.